COD 2024 is coming up closer and closer, as we've mentioned the last few videos discussing the game, currently rumored to be Black Ops 6. So with a reveal of some kind imminent, maybe even as of this time next week, and likely a larger reveal upcoming in less than a month's time, today I want to take a look at everything that we know so far in regards to Black Ops 6, Black Ops 5, or whatever COD 2024 and Treyarch's next introduction to the franchise is. As we go along, drop your thoughts, drop a like, and make sure to subscribe for more COD 2024 or Black Ops 6 coverage as we gear up for reveal season and everything upcoming. But for now, strap in because there is a lot to get into and a lot to cover. So apologies in advance because this is probably going to be a much longer video by comparison. But let's start out with some basic details. Let's talk firstly a launch window, title, and so on and so forth. Developed by Treyarch, this game is currently 4 years into development, making it the longest developed title of any Call of Duty in the franchise's history. Now, of course, as we mentioned, it right now is rumored to be Black Ops 6. It could be Black Ops 5 because there technically is no mainline naming of Black Ops 5. Like we had Black Ops 4, Black Ops Cold War, and then potentially Black Ops 6. But if you look at some of the clues available in Black Ops Cold War, there was the designation of Black Ops 5 markings in some areas of that game. So it's a bit of a toss-up right now, but while some smaller teams at Treyarch, like the ranked and smaller Zombies teams, worked on prior games and the experiences of Vanguard, Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare 3, the game at large has been uninterrupted in that 4 years of development. But what's even more interesting and perhaps promising for the year ahead is that Treyarch are reportedly only working on multiplayer and zombies, with Raven leading the campaign as they did in Black Ops Cold War, meaning that 4 years of attention on the development of just simply the two most played modes for Treyarch games, multiplayer and zombies. Currently, it's expected to launch in October of 2024, making it only the fourth title since Call of Duty 2 in 2005 to be released in October, but leaked all the way back pre-Modern Warfare 2 2022 reveal, the Warzone mobile alpha files indicated the game would refer to the Battle of Mogadishu, which gave us our first understanding this would be set in the 90s or the Gulf War narrative, and further reports stating it's focused on the CIA and examining the US's role in the conflict, leaning into that Black Ops roots. But in the interest of time, let's talk about some deeper details. I'm assuming multiplayer details are a bit juicier, and we'll start with those here when it comes to talking leaks. But for multiplayer, the following information is leaked content, so a fair spoiler warning up front to anyone who may want to avoid it. The information on hand comes from game files data mined from the COD HQ, that unifying element of all sort of air quote 2.0 era of Call of Duty post Modern Warfare 2 in 2022. Let's start with weaponry, the primary focus of multiplayer, shall we? Initially, we saw a leak a while back proposing the weapons we'd see in Black Ops 6. Of those, they were for the most part mentions of real-life counterparts to weaponry, which we know is not going to be the final naming of weapons we see in games anymore for a various handful of reasons. Some of these are new, some are corrected with their updated names to reflect what they'd be in game, but here's the weaponry we know of currently: the M4S, Kastov 74, Krig C, VAP or VAP9, M16, SA87, FTAC Light, the R2, the SR8, the Liana 57, the C58, TAC F, Kastov 73, Kastov M, and Raptor 9, the Lockman Sub, VAP2, MD97L, the VCAR, the VAP3, the FMG 9, the AMR 9, the M500, the OCP 500, the Roku 360, the Olympia, the Super Short, the LRC 308, the IP 545, the SAW H, SAW L, MK18, the Cammers or the CAMRS, the VAP9, the Kastov 97, the Tempest Torrent, the Liana 550, the Kastov M, the Ratio P and Ratio H, the LW3 Tundra, Lock 9, Lock 45, Psychov, GP13 Auto, Lock 30, TAC Handheld, the Dianali, the Law, the Panzerfaust, Stinger, Hunting Knife, Scouting Knife, and the Breaching Tool. All in all, there's a lot of weapons that I'm honestly looking forward to seeing again. The Krig C, C58, FAL is the TAC F, the FMG 9 is the PP90, the LW3 Tundra, like tons of good weapons here from COD history that are returning that I'm stoked to see if this is the full list that we have available to us. Now, as mentioned, that is a ton of weapons up on deck, so more than we've seen in recent years, and a big grind associated with these if you're trying to rank up and do the mastery camos for what would assumedly be both multiplayer and zombies mastery camos alongside that, plus anything you want to rank up in regards to Warzone weaponry as well, common integration with Season 1. But As for perks, another wing of that multiplayer experience, we've seen a lot of these already leak. We have things like Overkill, Ghost, Restock, Spotter, Battle Hardened, Shrapnel, Cold-Blooded, Bomb Squad, Grave Robber, Fast Hands, Quick Fix, Hardline, Underkill, Scavenger, Flex, Overclock, Survivor, Operative, Anti-Up, Dexterity, Strong Arm, Stalker, Primed, Focus, Bounty Hunter, Double Time, Ninja, Hustle, Heavy Metal, and Huntmaster. Now, the big takeaways, obviously, you're going to see that we have a lot of the same basics that occur from game to game. Like, you could almost guess that every single COD would have things like Ghost, Cold-Blooded, Fast Hands, Hardline, Scavenger, and such, but there are a few that perhaps do stand out as more interesting or newer ones. For me, those are Ghost, where it's reaffirmed that it's only going to be active while moving, which is definitely nice, unlike a recent title. Bounty Hunter is the return of Assassin from Cold War, but while not for everyone, I kind of enjoyed running this in the perk 2 category because a lot of the other perks were kind of hit or miss for me, so I'd take that extra score for killing enemies marked as a high value target. Quick Fix apparently is going to be returning, which is huge for me just because I love that introduction as a perk. It lets you play a bit more aggressive. Grave Robber, this is one that it sounds interesting. Scrapping dropped guns to get extra attachments and ammo. Sounds like a more in-depth scavenger perk, but with no prior perk for comparison in COD history, I'm see how this works out. Another key takeaway is a lot of these are repeat or familiar perks, but that's because of the unified engine we have with the COD HQ, the sort of 2.0 era that is, in terms of marketing, been scrapped since Modern Warfare 2's launch and post-launch, but it's all done to fit that Warzone perk system, meaning we're likely seeing some of these new ones make their way into Warzone, but also there's a lot of uniformity in regards to what we have for the perk offering and things like that. So that's probably going to be going on for a little longer until they decide to make a 3.0 era, but anyways, that's the perks we've seen leak thus far. As for streaks and what you can end up playing around with, first, before we jump into the streaks themselves, honestly, one of the big things right now for me that has been rumored and leaked is that apparently we're going to have a standard streak system this time around. Not the weird persistent streak system we had with a cooldown like in Cold War. To each their own if you liked it, but I kind of thought that was the worst streak system we'd seen in COD history, kind of like a mix between requisitions and guaranteeing streaks to those that necessarily didn't quite earn them, plus also having a cooldown, meaning you couldn't earn multiple in one life if you were truly going off. Like if you were on a 20 to 25 kill streak or something like that, there's actually a chance that you could not get another spy plane or a harp to allow you to keep seeing that information on hand like you could in prior games. Now, the only variable that I've seen that has not been elaborated on is that if this will be something that allows you to wrap streaks and earn more than one per life this upcoming year. But if it is streak based, I wouldn't be surprised if you could wrap around instead of being kill streaks. But anyways, the streaks that we know of so far are the RCXD, Spy Plane, Honeypot, Care Package, Counter Spy Plane, Grim Reaper, Artillery, Booby Trap, Napalm Strike, Hand Cannon, Hellstorm Missile, Sentry Turret, War Machine, Valkyrie Rocket, Cerberus Mark 0, Death Machine, Nighthawk, Attack Chopper, Gas Strike, Chopper Gunner, Harp, Sniper's Nest, Air Patrol, and Nuke. So firstly, on some personal notes, I love the fact that we have a callable nuke coming back in. That was embraced post-launch in Cold War, and it was the first time that a Treyarch title had a nuke kill streak associated with it. I know they're not too fond of this, and it might be something that the Treyarch purists are like, we don't want this at all, but personally, I enjoy that kind of stuff. And frankly, it's not something that I worry about having my game ended too much, because the way matchmaking goes, well, usually I'm not getting anywhere near a 30 kill streak, but on the off chance that I just go off or I have a good game in like a ground war, it's fun to get close and try and go for that. And number two, there's an interesting choice of returning streaks here for this one. Like, I love that Sniper's Nest is returning, but I hate that Air Patrol is also returning, though a sort of sidebar with that is that it's apparently going to be the highest streak associated with the score streaks, meaning that you're not going to end up getting this just as a freebie and for very little score like you did back in Cold War. Instead, you're going to have to consciously go for this and string together a high number of either captures, tag collects, kills, whatever the case, in which it's going to cost the highest amount of score by comparison to other streaks. So fingers crossed you shouldn't be just getting this spammed and having your hard-earned streaks destroyed for basically nothing. Next, equipment, we have the C4, IED, Impact Grenade, Molotov, Frag Grenade, Cluster Grenade, Semtex, Thermite, Combat Axe, Drill Charge, Thermobaric Grenade, Shock Stick, Proximity Alarm, Decoy, EMP Grenade, Flashbang, Smoke Grenade, Stun Grenade, Tactical Insertion, Adrenaline Shot, and Spotter Scanner, with the field upgrades of the Gas Mine, Jammer, Landmine, Ammo Pack, Shield, Revive Gun, Spy Camo, Rally, and Trophy System. Now, beyond that, we have rumored maps, though there really hasn't been anything too much expanded upon this since the first initial leaks of this, but apparently for multiplayer maps, we'll see maps of Radar, Island, Pillage, Canals, CMD, Grind from Black Ops 2's DLC season, Firing Range from the original Black Ops 1, and a map called Veiled. As for gameplay mechanics, it's still going to be part of that 2.0 that was deemed last year with Modern Warfare 2, so the COD HQ will likely still remain, meaning that the UI is probably to some degrees going to be there unless there's an overhaul for whatever reason, but that shared IW engine from both Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 will be built upon as a sort of advancement of that kind of stuff. But you have to bear in mind that's the same architecture, and while there will be probably new similarities in how the game feels and plays to the last two titles, engine doesn't always equal a direct one-to-one in those elements. So it's possible that in 4 years of development, they've already crafted that textbook split that we've seen in prior years, where a Modern Warfare and a Black Ops game could feel fundamentally different. Now, there's been whispers with no explicit details that movement for this game will be very fluid and something that is definitely a nice movement system, but not necessarily what we see right now with Modern Warfare 3 and Modern Warfare 2 recently. Again, not a whole ton really expanded upon by that, but apparently we're also going to see dolphin diving returning in a more streamlined and useful variation here of this. The weapon platform system is apparently going to be coming back with Create a Class for 2025, not necessarily this game upcoming, but it was rumored and leaked that the 2025 game, year 2 of support, will have a Create a Class of pick 10. So if that's the case for the year 2 of support, I wouldn't be surprised then if maybe that comes back in Black Ops 6, a pick 10 system similar to Black Ops 2 and what we've seen in a number of Call of Duty titles of the past. But anyways, that's the multiplayer details we know of right now. After that, let's talk a little bit about the campaign. This is going to be set in the Gulf War era and follows the Black Ops Cold War campaign with returning characters, some new characters alike. But the interesting part is that if you look at the Black Ops timeline, it also would be in line where it crosses over some of the flashbacks from Black Ops 2. So we'll see if there's any characters that do die off. Hudson was killed in those Black Ops 2 flashbacks, so he may or may not be returning depending on where the storyline takes place at any given moment. But it's apparently again going to be developed by Raven. They're doing the campaign with Treyarch again doing multiplayer and zombies, which honestly I kind of love that dichotomy that was present in Black Ops Cold War and apparently is returning for this one. I thought that Raven's narrative in Cold War was pretty great, and a heavy focus on the continued support of modes like multiplayer and zombies solely being focused on by Treyarch. I think that's awesome to hear, meaning 4 years of dev support going into only 2 modes as opposed to other games like recently Modern Warfare say 2 had Spec Ops, DMZ, Raids, Warzone, multiplayer, and a campaign on top of that. So all developed by one studio, it seemingly lessens the workload in spreading people thin, but also gives maybe more attention, more content potential for the modes that people replay a ton. But anyways, as for gameplay details for the campaign, the safe house is apparently returning, which means we'll see the introduction of likely more side quests and potential items available there, an Intel computer similar to the Black Ops 1 console, a place to upgrade our weapons and use the workbenches there, upgrade our gear, check intel, compile perk slots, use the firing range, and more. So there's a lot that is going to be returning here with that, but honestly, just having played it in Black Ops Cold War, I thought it was a great addition. That might be something that is a bit subjective and you may not agree, and that's totally fine, but that's what we know of the safe house. Previously, there were leaked names of missions called Contract, Union, Safe House, Farmhouse, Storm, Extraction, Redacted, and Imposter. And to be fair, it's totally possible that mention of Safe House is the data mined game level that could refer to just this safe house as that sort of home base that we just mentioned, but that's still up in the air. And the gameplay details beyond that is that we're of course going to have a standard linear story at some points, but it's mentioned that we're going to have open world mixed with traditional linear approach missions as well. Personally, I'm kind of conflicted on this. We've talked about this before, where it's not necessarily that I don't like the idea of open world missions. It's just, I don't know if we take a look at Modern Warfare 3 and those open combat missions we saw there, and if we can really use those as a good judge of character for how open world would work in regards to a Call of Duty campaign. The entirety of Modern Warfare 3 was made in 16 months, so that was absolutely something that was sped along, and you could absolutely tell that it was basically just putting campaign in a format of Spec Ops, which personally I didn't think was done too well, but I'm curious to see if we'll get it in a different fashion, because if you take a look at it, there were missions in the past that were sort of open combat or open world missions, like the mission Desperate Measures from Black Ops Cold War, where you infiltrate the Lubyanka building. There's a bunch of different open world aspects to that. You have the agency to talk to characters, get sort of different dialogue options, do little side quests, and even obtaining the bunker key that you need as the main quest line. You have multiple different ways of doing that. You can either poison Charkov, frame him, persuade a prisoner, or reprogram a key for entry. Each of those having their own little sub-objectives in order to complete them. And again, there are also smaller things you could do along that entire mission as well. So I'd be curious if it follows of a more controlled scale like that, where there's like a linear fashion but open world where you have like 4 to 10 options per mission and outcomes that could come along with it and how you get from point A to point B, or if it's truly like a one objective thing on an open world like Modern Warfare 3. Frankly, hearing both out loud, I do prefer the Cold War variation of it, but we don't quite know. But that's the campaign details we have at the moment. As for zombies, it's rumored right now, and very much so looking likely based off of how we saw the introduction of Modern Warfare zombies and the overall reception of it at launch. I think that it's actually received better than whenever it was announced, but round-based is apparently going to be returning here in COD 2024 with rumored 2 maps at launch, codenamed Quartz and Garnet. Additionally, some things like consumable systems like Gobblegums have been found in the game files. There's going to be that armor and crafting system returning from Black Ops Cold War, which honestly, I really enjoyed the way that that was set up. But the one thing that really gets me is that there's potentially weeks of early access here for round-based zombies coming, which, as we'll mention in a second again, there was a Windows Central report that a gradual rollout of the game could be explored with Black Ops 6 here after the success of campaign early access in recent years. So guaranteeing sales to get access to zombies like maybe 2 weeks before launch, campaign a week early, and then the multiplayer offering at launch day, I'm sure that would work out very well for people trying to jump in and play. I guarantee a lot of people would pre-order for that kind of stuff. But as for that, zombies details, there's a mention of a sort of outbreak mode coming as well. So we'll see if it's a mixture of outbreak plus Modern Warfare zombies from what we saw this year, a sort of open world-esque to it. But I'm very curious to see what all happens with this, because it seems like zombies has a lot of return to normal fashion coming, but also still some innovation and trying new things out, which is going to be interesting to see the scale of zombies firstly, and then what actually ends up making the cut and how people respond to that. But beyond that, Warzone details for COD 2024. Of course, that'll be something that is introduced as of Season 1, likely in November or very early December. But as it stands right now, it's rumored that Verdansk is going to be returning here as that big map. We ended up going from Verdansk to Verdansk 84 to Caldera to Al Mazrah to Resurgence at this point, but it seems like after all these years, we're returning back to where we were in a sort of basis of the original Warzone. I feel like the last year or so has really just kind of been trying to get Warzone back into place to where it was before the launch of Warzone 2.0, as it was designated at the time. And going back to Verdansk really tries to showcase that mention of, hey, we want to go back to the original here. So whether you like the idea of Verdansk returning or hate it, it is something that looks to be happening. There's also a small map codenamed Marina, likely around the size of Rebirth Island and Fortune's Keep, coming as rumored sometime in 2025 in that year of support for COD 2024. But beyond that, not much has been mentioned just yet. Of course, an integration will happen, though we're at that point where with that Season 1 integration, it could be something that's a question of would a wipe be preferred instead? Just bringing Black Ops 6 stuff into the fold for Warzone and maybe vaulting items from Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. But additionally, Warzone also has that tall task upcoming of managing maps, because if we do get another map on top of the rotation for Resurgence and a big map in Verdansk, well, what's a sort of map management and rotation going to look like here for this? I don't imagine that we have a rotation of maps for big map like we end up seeing a rotation of Verdansk and then also Urzikstan, but for Resurgence, it's certainly possible. But with Rebirth Island, Fortune's Keep, Vondel, Ashika, and perhaps a new one codenamed Marina, are we going to have 5 maps on a rotational or even maybe weekly timer? Like, could you pick and choose a quick play menu style of what you want to play, or how will that work? Because at that point, you do have a lot of maps to manage, and that's not something that we usually see works out well when you take maps entirely out of the rotation, as we've seen with recent weekly playlists. But anyways, that is the information we have on Warzone. A little more limited by comparison to like multiplayer and campaign details, but that's what we know. Now, beyond that, talking stuff in regards to release, playable builds, and reveals upcoming, another thing that was recently leaked that should be taken with some grain of salt is there potentially could be a COD 2024 alpha. Now, even by the leaker's own admission, it's something that they're not too sure of if it's going to be a public alpha or something that's just simply referring to the alpha state as a playtest, something that is the build that they have at the ready at that time. So on one hand, it's very possible that we could see that just being a game state called out in the build of the COD HQ as of the Season 3 Reloaded update for Modern Warfare 3, but we have also seen alphas in the past. The 2v2 gunfight alpha of Modern Warfare 2019, the multiplayer alpha that was actual genuine MP gameplay in Cold War, and the Champion Hill alpha in Vanguard, all of which being additional platform exclusive benefits for PlayStation. But as we've talked about, with Xbox seemingly doubling down on removing platform exclusives, could it be something that is instead a way to increase play? But more so, my thinking may be is, would this be something that's pre-order exclusive? Like, you have a beta as per normal, but it's open to all platforms for a week or 2 weeks, but it's entirely open, free to play. Anybody can jump in and try it out to try and end up getting more sales out of that. But if you do that, of course, you miss out on some of those air quote guaranteed sales, though you can honestly just cancel a pre-order as the time of getting your code. But anyways, if you do that, you lose out on some of those potential pre-orders. So would you do something like a pre-order early and then a secondary playtest as a beta? That's something that I think is a toss-up, but I think could be possible. But as for a launch, it is something that again is rumored to be October of 2024. But according to Windows Central, Activision has discussed large pre-order early access bonuses for COD 2024, which could be several days for the base game or maybe even weeks for access to other modes. So with those recent leaks pointing towards an alpha of some kind, this could be the most spread out we've seen a launch and sort of playable aspect of a Call of Duty title to date. Like potentially an alpha of some kind, a beta almost guaranteed every year since Black Ops 3 back in 2015, potentially an early access window for campaign being moved up even earlier than a week early access, and then maybe zombies closer to launch. Again, my own speculation on that alpha rumored, so it'll be interesting to see how this all breaks down in regards to a playable aspect of it. But the biggest question, I think, as of the last year or so is, will Black Ops 6 be on Game Pass? This is one of the biggest questions to come out of the Microsoft acquisition of Activision, and it makes sense. You spend billions of dollars to own a franchise IP that generates billions of dollars a year, but for what reason? Are you trying to boost and drive sales to Game Pass using COD as a bargaining chip, or are you trying to recoup that investment and still sell the original and new titles at full price of industry standard, maybe after a year or two offering those up on Game Pass to keep the player bases alive more? I mean, based on the results of each year's quarterly earnings reports, it kind of seems stupid to not capitalize on a full price launch, right? I mean, each new COD game garners $1 billion at launch each Q4, even in the lesser received games like Vanguard, which apparently to date have sold over 30 million copies, or so is reported. But the information on if it will be included in Game Pass is yet to be officially revealed, but with that redacted direct in a few weeks, where we're going to see everything seemingly detailed for us, I'd imagine we end up getting that answer fully revealed to us. But anyways, that's great and all, but when can we actually see stuff officially confirmed, our first teasers on everything? Well, as we talked about, reveals seemingly are upcoming, potentially even as of when this video is going live. I'm recording early as I'll be on a little vacation here as the time this goes live, but fingers crossed nothing has been officially confirmed just yet as this video being published earlier in the day. But with the Season 3 Reloaded update, we saw the mention of new data mined game files that mention BR_S3_Cerberus_reveal, with challenges associated mentioning in Warzone, get operator kills with an old friend. Now that designation, BR, is Battle Royale, S3 is Season 3, Cerberus reveal is the codename Cerberus for COD 2024. So it sure seems like we're going to see something revealed. My guess is a more so just title reveal or logo reveal, maybe like a character or something like that, pointing towards the worldwide reveal date, a little teaser trailer of sorts perhaps, for the Black Ops Direct immediately following the Xbox showcase. But time will tell on all of that kind of stuff, but for right now, that is where we're at. And again, a whole lot of stuff has been seen thus far as of mid-May and what we have for COD 2024. But for right now, that is going to wrap it up. Just wanted to fill you guys in and keep you in the loop with everything here ahead of what is likely to be some kind of reveal this time next week, perhaps, and then a couple of weeks beyond. But that's where we're going to wrap it up. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think here of everything we've seen so far for COD 2024? Like it, dislike it, whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing. We're getting all things COD 2024 as we gear up for reveal season. There is going to be so much you won't want to miss, so I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. My name's been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.